Mary Seminary. To register, go to houstonvocations.com. That's houstonvocations.com.
This is Khan. Cafe Católica will be held on July 10th at St. Anne Catholic Church. The night will start at 5:15, including confession, mass, and dinner. The Q&A session with our beloved Cardinal Donato will start at 8:15. Come for all or part of the night. No registration is needed to attend. Donation accepted. More information is available at cafecatolica.com. Once again, that's cafecatolica.com. See you there.
You're listening to the Catholic Lunch Break, where we catch up on everything Catholic in Houston. My name is Tim Mott. I'm the general manager of this radio station, and we are having a little bit of an exciting time here at our studio because there's a lot of chaos happening, construction, good chaos happening. They're expanding our offices. We're going to finally have offices for Tito and Adrian and Taylor, the morning crew. We're finally going to be having a digital studio for our GRN digital people. And we are going to be getting new equipment here in our studio at this time. So very exciting things happening. But another person who can actually really relate to that right now is Father Jeff Boehm, who is the rector of the Co-Cathedral of the Sacred Heart, the seat of our archdiocese. Father Jeff, welcome back to the Catholic Lunch Break.
Thanks, Tim. Good to be back.
There are exciting changes happening, physical changes happening at your location too, right?
Yeah, the idea of a good headache, a productive headache resonates very well with our reality downtown right now.
Wonderful. Yeah, you just launched the capital campaign, but I know a lot of people are going to be thinking that I just heard about the Co-Cathedral in the news. Wasn't there a fire there recently?
There was. The day before the ordinations, a Friday morning wake-up call, always the way you like to start your morning with news that the church is on fire. Fortunately, it was not nearly as major as it looked or sounded in the news.
Okay, good.
It was quickly contained.
And things are back to normal and everything, maybe whatever normal is. But
yes.
Okay, so tell me about the construction, the capital campaign that's happening at the Co-Cathedral. You've got the Archbishop Fiorenza Plaza that's going in?
Absolutely. So back in March, we announced the construction of the plaza to the parish, which was kind of phase one of what's now fully announced with the launch of the capital campaign. Ultimately, this is all about bringing to fruition the original vision of Archbishop Fiorenza. What a lot of people don't know, and it's hard to believe for any of us that it's been 15 years now since the Co-Cathedral was dedicated. It seems like yesterday. But there was a great vision that Archbishop Fiorenza had, and the cathedral was just one step of that. And due to some other factors, things got delayed. And with the coming together of 15 years in the church, the passing of Archbishop Fiorenza, some needs and challenges we were looking at, it led to this great effort to revisit and see what was unfulfilled and say it's time. It's time to fulfill as Archbishop Fiorenza and all our materials, you see him quoted, is once quoted talking about the walk and how we've come a long way, but we haven't finished the walk yet. We need to complete the walk. And that's completing the walk came from the words of Archbishop himself as the name of this campaign, and it's really beyond the individual components about bringing to fruition his vision.
Okay. So I'm fascinated by this because 15 years ago, I wasn't even Catholic. I wasn't even in Houston at the time. So what was the vision? Like you said he has a vision for the center of Houston there, and the Co-Cathedral building was only one part of that. What does the full vision look like?
Well, so taking one step back, what a lot of people don't know of the story of the Co-Cathedral was that Sacred Heart started as a parish church like any other in downtown Houston. Was founded in 1896, and so it was a parish church, but in 1959, when the Holy Father designated Houston as an episcopal seat, that's when the Diocese of Galveston became the Diocese of Galveston-Houston.
Right.
It required the establishment of a cathedral in downtown. And so Sacred Heart Church was elevated to co-cathedral status. But Sacred Heart Church was built as a parish church.
Right.
And so for almost, well, a little slightly over 40 years, served as a co-cathedral despite being a beautiful but very modest-sized church.
And that's that older building that's by the parking lot there.
Correct.
Yeah. So if people have visited, they may have seen that and like, wonder what this old building was.
The one right against I-45. And so up until 2008, that was the co-cathedral, a parish church that had been redesignated. The problem with the old church was because it was built as a parish church, and that structure had been built in 1912, it was small. And as anyone who's in the archdiocese knows, even 20 years ago, the explosion rate of the Catholic population here.
Yeah.
And so even though it was a co-cathedral, you had the cathedral in Galveston and now the co-cathedral in Houston, but neither one was really big enough to host major archdiocesan liturgies. So they had to go to the bigger churches elsewhere. And Archbishop Fiorenza, by 2000, had realized that Houston needed a true cathedral for the ages.
Of course.
And so his idea was Houston needs not just a bigger structure, but a cathedral that can last centuries.
Okay. So I've seen that cathedral. The actual cathedral right now is huge. It's one of the biggest interior spaces I've seen in Houston.
It is.
Maybe not counting NRG Stadium, but
sure.
Okay. But wow. So that was one part of the vision. What goes beyond that?
So Archbishop, of course, the cathedral church was at the heart of his vision, but beyond that. So around that time was when the Cathedral Center was acquired, which was the former Federal Reserve Bank in Houston. So if you've ever been to an event or reception or something after Mass, it's that building that's kind of behind the co-cathedral across the way. And so the acquisition of that fit into the vision. But then Archbishop Fiorenza also envisioned a green space that could be used for community gathering, somewhere that added beauty to downtown but allowed people to gather together. For him, that was always what it was about. If you know Archbishop Fiorenza's legacy, it was always about the church on the move. Yeah. And so very much in the language of Pope Francis about reaching out to the margins, that was always Archbishop Fiorenza's heart, was reaching out to the margins, bringing people together from different places. So he knew that we needed this green space. He also knew, as anyone who's attended the cathedral to this day knows, our parking situation.
That too, yes.
And so the original plan always involved the demolition of the old church to create room for the people to be able to visit and park. People who aren't from downtown are intimidated coming down. Where am I going to park? Where do I find, how do I get to the church? And so the green space, the parking, and then on top of that, how to pay for all this. Well, people will remember that in the early 2000s, the Archdiocesan campaign that allowed for the construction of the co-cathedral. But once you build something, you also have to maintain it.
Of course.
And so Archbishop had intended for a $10 million endowment that would help take care of it for generations to come.
Yes.
And then this little thing happened. So it was very joyful, and I was very blessed to be there on that day of the dedication, April 2nd, 2008. It was a grand occasion. I remember it well. And then everyone in Houston remembers what happened just a couple months after that, this little issue called Hurricane Ike that came in.
Hurricane Ike, yes.
And Hurricane Ike did a number on Houston and the Archdiocese, and it required kind of a diversion of all efforts, all fundraising, everything went to relief. And so everything kind of tailed off at that moment. Everything that was unfulfilled stayed that way.
Right.
And then it was a succession, as we know. It's kind of been one thing after another over the last 15 years.
COVID and whatnot.
And Harvey and all of these. And so you blink, and it's 15 years later, and you realize, and it really brought to the forefront of everyone's attention when Archbishop passed in the fall, was, okay, it's been 15 years. It's time.
We need to move forward.
We need to finish the job.
Oh, well,
we need to complete the walk.
The name of the capital campaign right there.
We need to complete the walk.
Yeah. Okay, so completingthewalk.org is actually the website. It's a beautifully put together website here. I'm assuming you're working with the Archdiocese on all of that as well?
We're working with them. It's unlike the campaign that led to the construction. This is a parish-based campaign, so it's not an archdiocesan. So if you belong to a parish, you're not going to hear a pitch from the pulpit or a requirement through your parish.
Okay.
But at the same time, the co-cathedral is a very modest-sized parish. It's
big building, modest parish.
It is. And so without we have 792 families currently, and so in the 15 years since, that small core has carried the weight of funding, maintaining the spaces without that endowment in place. So this whole campaign is reaching to our own faithful people, but also back out to a lot of the people who generously gave the first time around 15 plus years ago, to come back and realize that the cathedral is the home for everyone. And so to take these next steps together, what started when Archbishop Fiorenza was at the helm, to complete the walk together and take steps that will both finish his vision but have very realized benefits, not just for our parish, but for the faithful across the Archdiocese.
So I'm sure that there's a few questions in the minds of some of our listeners about, like, what's the difference between a parish church and a cathedral? You've mentioned that a few times now. We're doing this as a cathedral, but now you're doing a capital campaign as a parish. So which is it, cathedral or parish, Father? And what's the difference?
Sure. Okay. So that question comes up constantly, and that's the tricky. You even said earlier, you started to say, Father Jeff's a pastor. Wait, he's the rector. Well, he's both.
Yes, exactly.
Welcome to cathedral reality. So the cathedral, of course, by definition, a cathedral is named after the chair that's within it.
Yeah, it's a Latin word for chair.
So the cathedra is the bishop's chair to seat. It's the seat of authority in the local church. And so wherever that is the cathedral church, that is the bishop's church. However, in a lot of places, especially in the United States, you have these beautiful structures that themselves can house a parish. Right. And so a parish is not actually a structure. It's a legal reality, if you will. A flock in an area gathered under a pastor.
See, that's probably what people don't realize, is that the parish is not the building. The parish is the people.
The parish is the people. And so we have the cathedral church, but there's also a parish organized under its roof. And so, of course, Cardinal DiNardo is our ordinary bishop. He's the only one that sits on that chair. I don't when I preside at Mass. And yet, day to day, like any other parish church, we have our families that gather in it for the sacraments and for everything else that a parish does. On day-to-day, we have that as well, not just the mega celebrations with Cardinal DiNardo that everyone comes from across Houston for.
So what kind of relationship does your parish actually have with downtown Houston? We talked about, Archbishop Fiorenza wanting to go out to the people, wanting to bring the marginalized in, and maybe this green space and this renovation and this construction is going to be part of, like, making that even more alive. But what, as rector, what have you seen so far in your relationship between your parish and the people there in downtown Houston?
Sure. So one of the images we really cling to as being named after the Sacred Heart is the cathedral beyond the reality of what we do, what we have. As we say that we are an image, a visual reminder, and people drive by. A cathedral church towers, it soars, it draws the eye if you're in downtown Houston. And that we give a reminder, literally the presence of the heart of Jesus in the heart of Houston. Yeah. And so that's the language we constantly use. I was on here a few months ago and we were talking about our Core Festival named exactly for that, heart to heart. And so it's the heart of our Catholic faith shared in the heart of downtown Houston. Amongst everything else that happens in the fourth largest city, right here is a reminder of the heart of Jesus. So that comes out of course, in the gathering of peoples, but it comes out in the very uniquely human element. During your last segment, talking with Loving Choice, we were just talking about how even at our parish, how everyone, since the overturning of Roe v. Wade, everyone at the bishop's request is kicking up their efforts to walk with moms in need. Right. Our parish has had the same. We've had almost a tripling in number of mothers through the Gabriel Project coming to our parish. So we, for years and years and years, had Gabriel Project, but now have started up these other programs, baby showers and the like, to reach out to moms in need. Of course, we constantly have the homeless around us. And so you can imagine outreach is a large part of what we do. Yeah. And in coordination, we're very blessed, of course, to have Catholic Charities, San Jose Clinic, the other agencies right in our parish boundaries downtown. Right. Yeah. But we're the front door. We're right by the metro station, the light rail, people coming to Houston. Sadly, often people that have been humanly trafficked often get dropped off in our vicinities. We'll have someone walk in with their children and just the clothes on their back looking for help. So we're very much the front porch to kind of the world in Houston.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, the front porch to the world there. And this is the month of the Sacred Heart, so it's probably a very special time as well. I'm sure that so is timed with the the capital campaign was timed to coincide with that. So to make this space, this front porch, so to speak, the physical space more inviting, more comfortable, more welcoming of both your parishioners and non-Catholics, what is it going to take? What is it going to take to complete this capital campaign, to complete this walk?
Sure. So the campaign on the whole has four components at a total of $9.8 million that we're trying to raise. We've already had a lot of generous people reach, so we're making good progress on this goal. But the Archbishop Fiorenza Plaza is the first part. For those who haven't heard of that, yes, it's a green space, but also involves the church. The old buildings on the premises have already been demolished.
Finally coming down.
Yeah, the
Wow.
lot is
Yeah.
cleared to give way to this new construction. So not only will it triple the parking capacity of that lot.
Praise be to Jesus.
Yes, it'll triple the parking capacity of that lot, but also create this green space with a pavilion where people can gather. It'll have a tribute wall with the legacy of Archbishop Fiorenza, the history of Sacred Heart Parish, as well as the donors who contribute. So this will be a rallying point across the street for gatherings, for exciting new things that are always in the works. For example, it's can't officially announce, but we've been in talks for a long time. Our Lady of Guadalupe, the annual celebration of bringing it to the co-cathedral,
Yeah.
for the things of gatherings of people from all over Houston. So the space can be used for that. Then the cathedral and the center both need upgrades, like anything after 15 years.
Of course.
Some very practical things. We need new doors on the church to help it be more secure and accessible. We need energy efficiency to go to LED lighting, other things that will help with savings, efficiency, the beauty of illumination. We need practical things in there. A lot of people who visited us at Christmas had a very unpleasant experience when we had no functional restrooms. Well,
Yes.
the problem with that actually had to do with city water pressure, which sometimes drops on holidays and weekends.
Remember that.
Residential buildings have internal water pumps to drive up the floors. We didn't. And so we can install to make sure that in future issues that we have a secondary way of, providing for our plumbing. And so there's all kinds of practical needs like that. The center, most people gather for receptions and things there. The fourth floor that's there, we want to do some of the AV upgrades, energy lighting, flooring to make it a truly first-rate event space
Yeah.
for all the things, including the patio, the overlook of the cathedral, which is beautiful if you've ever been out there. And then lastly, the fourth element is the $5 million endowment
Of course.
beginning.
There you go.
Which is to help. As I said, our people at the parish have been so generous, carrying the burden for so long, just 792 families. But it's come at great cost. It's strained the reserves. And so a way to provide renewable income for generations to make sure that what Archbishop Fiorenza envisioned and helped build can be sustained.
Yeah.
But before, I always like to say, before everyone has ideas of things you'd like to build, well, the important thing is always to take care well of what you have first.
Yeah.
And that's what this is about.
I think of the Gothic cathedrals in the Middle Ages that would take generations to actually build. And so the entire community was focused on that building because it's their legacy. And they're not thinking in terms of, what's Christmas going to be like this year? They're thinking in terms of 100 years from now,
Right.
where this building's going to be standing. And I love that that you and the Catholic Church think that way about these kind of projects. Even though the technology's changed, maybe the finances have changed, the long-term thinking of the Catholic Church of we are here for the long term. God is eternal, and we are going to be that presence. That's huge. And so, even if we can only donate a little bit, I'm sure every bit helps.
Every little bit helps. And as you just said, Archbishop said he wanted a cathedral that would last centuries. So now it's to provide everything around it to make that possible, that future generations, that the heart of Jesus and the heart of downtown will continue to be seen, felt, experienced for all who come through. So yeah, we're reaching out again for the help of people across the Archdiocese, whether big or small. Completingthewalk.org is the website where you can find out more information on how to make a pledge, a gift, and also, before I forget, because so many people have asked, many people have inquired who have a sense of nostalgia of the old church about the opportunity for bricks. We'll see. We may run out of bricks at the rate we're going before. We don't know how many we have, but everyone wants bricks.
You'll lower your disposal costs.
I don't know how many bricks were even in the original structure. That may not be enough. But for everyone who makes a gift of $250 or more, immediately become eligible as long as we still have bricks left to
there you
give
go. Good,
to
good.
get one.
Yeah.
So a way to contribute an effort and also get a piece of the history, because that the Sacred Heart Church, even though it started as a parish church, it then became the co-cathedral, so it is part of the legacy and story of every Catholic in Houston.
Wonderful. Well, Father Jeff Boehm, rector of the Co-Cathedral, the Sacred Heart, and the initiator of CompletingTheWalk.org, the capital campaign, thank you very much for joining us on the Catholic Lunch Break and telling us what's happening in the beating heart of Houston.
Thank you, Tim.
Okay. Well, you are listening. We are moving forward in this show. We've got a lot more to do. We've got Angie Pimetto from the Cafe Catholica coming to talk about Cafe Catholica and World Youth Day. But we'll be back right after this on the Catholic Lunch Break, where we catch up on everything Catholic in Houston.
Cafe Catholica, the popular young adult speaker series, is returning this coming July. All young adults are invited to join us at St. Anne Catholic Church to hear our dynamic speakers starting on July 10th with Cardinal DiNardo, July 17th with Brian Butler, and July 24th with Paul George. The nights will run from 5:15 to 9:15 p.m. and include confession, mass, dinner, and the talk. Registration is free, but donations are accepted. For more information, go to cafecatholica.com.
Active shooter events have become all too common across the country. They are unpredictable and evolve quickly. Knowing how to properly respond to an active shooter can be the difference between life and death. I'm Deputy Barry Curtis of Harris County Constable Precinct 5. Our certified instructors conduct free trainings on how you should respond to an active shooter to save lives. We also have other programs for kids, teens, and adults, all for free. Just contact Harris County Constable Precinct 5 to bring this active shooter or other programs to your school, church, or business.
Greetings, I am Dr. Christopher Pichon, the 18th Supreme Knight and CEO of the Knights of Peter Clave Incorporated, a family organization, a Catholic organization with ages from 7 to 100 plus. Please visit our website at kofpc.org and learn more about us. We do a lot of great work in our parishes and community, and we need you. Consider joining. Let God direct your path. kofpc.org.
Listen to The Spirit World with Debbie Georgiani and Adam Bly.
Demonic activity appears to be on the rise. I'm Debbie Georgiani, and I invite you to join Adam Bly and me this weekend for The Spirit World.
On The Spirit World, we offer a Catholic perspective on angels, demons, and how the spiritual and physical worlds interact.
Saturdays at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern on the Guadalupe Radio Network and other EWTN radio affiliates. Visit grnonline.com/spiritworld.
You're listening to the Catholic Lunch Break, 1 hour a week where we catch up on everything Catholic in Houston. And coming up in July, we've got Cafe Catholica, which is the Young Adult and Campus Ministries, a big thing every summer where the young adults of Houston gather together and celebrate the Lord. They have confession, they have Mass, and they have a wonderful time of fellowship and community. And here to tell us all about that, how it's going to work, what the theme is, who's talking, and how you can be part of it, is Angie Pimetto, who is the director of the Young Adult and Catholic Campus Ministries?
Office of the, yep, you got it.
You are the director.
Yes.
Okay, yes. I mean, there's so many titles over there at the Chancery. I want to be sure I get it right. But director of Young Adult and Campus Ministries, Angie, how you been doing?
Good. How are you, Tim?
I'm great. Are you staying cool out there in the summer?
We're trying. Yeah,
It's
my
really
parents actually visited last week, and we went to Mass at St. Vincent, and Monsignor Bill was teasing him like, you really picked the worst time to come visit.
Yeah, this
it was
heat,
pretty hot.
This heat. Okay, well, anyway, putting that behind us, I noticed on the website, cafecatholica.com, that the theme is Rise Up. So,
Rise Up.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Well, and actually, we stole it from World Youth Day. So it's actually good that we're talking about both those events.
Good.
Because they do have a connection. So Rise Up is a theme for World Youth Day this summer, and we are going to use it for Cafe Catholica as well. It's based on a verse from Luke. So it's just a very short, very powerful, I think, verse. And it just says, Mary arose and went with haste. And as I've been talking to the young adults about this, they're very excited about, first, a Marian type of theme, like so that we are going to hopefully have some mention of Mary throughout the whole series. But also this idea of going with haste. And I think with young adults, I heard one of them, we have a team that helps us with these Cafe Catholica programs. And in one of our discussions, they were saying, like, I would love to go with haste. I just don't know where I'm going. So the idea of discernment and the idea of how do we find out where the Lord is calling us so we can respond, so we can say yes and go with haste. So I just think it's really a poignant, verse to highlight for young adults.
That reminds me of something that Mother Angelica would say. Is like when God tells you to do something, you just go forward till you hit a brick wall, and then you do the next thing He tells you. You turn and you go.
That's right.
And hustle is a very important concept, a very important trait to have. And I think that that verse you cited just shows that even our Blessed Mother rose and went with haste.
That's right.
Yeah, got some hustle in there.
Yeah.
So how are you guys instantiating that? How are you doing this theme of Rise Up in Catholic Catholic? I mean, first, what's the structure? Is it a week-long thing? Is it a daily thing? Is it a nightly thing? What is it?
It's just a nightly thing, so 3 Mondays in July. And actually, it's good that we're on the radio early because this year it's only 3 nights. Usually we have 4.
Yeah.
But due to the July 4th holiday and World Youth Day, we're shortening it down to 3. So we're a trinity of nights this year. So yeah, it's a 3 Mondays in July starting on July 10th. And the night runs with confession beginning at 5:15, mass at 6:15, dinner at 7:15, and the talk at 8:15. And now new this year, we are adding a second time of confession at 7:15 during dinner. So that's a really exciting new thing because we realize not a lot of young adults can get there at that 5:15 hour for the early confession. So that is a new thing.
Confession is so important.
It is.
It's like the initial step of getting in that state of grace so that you can have that communion with God.
Yeah. And with the Rise Up theme, I think the most part, I'm going to tell all the different main celebrants for the masses to kind of incorporate it. So I think that's probably where the theme itself might come in more so because each of the talks are very different. So we have Cardinal to begin with. He's doing his Q&A on July 10th. The next speaker is Brian Butler, who he's one of the co-authors of the Theology of the Body for Teens. He'll be talking about it says rise and run, living chastity in friendship and dating. So the whole idea of how do we live our human sexuality in a real way in the real world, in line with the church, and all that. So of course he will incorporate the Marian and the Rise Up theme throughout, but his talk will be about theology of the body. And then the last one is Paul George, who's a national speaker and author, and his will be about discernment. Decisions, direction, and discernment, how Mary, Joseph, and the saints can help. So again, that topic won't be necessarily about Mary or about Rise Up, but it will be incorporated throughout.
Finding what God's calling you to.
That's right.
Yeah, that's the important thing there. This is all at the same location?
Yep, it's going to be at St. Anne's this year. It's our first year, we've been at the Catholic Charismatic Center the last 2 years, so we're switching locations to St. Anne. And we're very excited to be coming to very much the heart of Houston itself. It's a very central location there. So we're hoping it'll be easy for folks to get there.
Oh, yeah. St. Anne's is going to be great, especially for people coming in from the suburbs. It's nice to have a destination that is equidistant from everyone. So St. Anne's, 3 Monday nights in July 10, July 17, July 24. Cardinal's going to do his Q&A thing. I bet that gets a good response.
I hope so. Yeah, I'm a little nervous because that first night usually tends to be actually our lowest attendance. And just for scheduling, he couldn't make it. He usually comes at the end of the series. Yeah. So we'll see. I'm like, come on, guys, let's get out there for Cardinal. I think people like to, let the first one pass by. Don't let the first one pass by this year.
Well, it's probably like a word of mouth thing. Like they probably show up for the first one and then they tell.
And then this is really great. Yeah. I'll tell you right now, it's going to be really great.
Yeah. So consider this your word of mouth right now.
That's right.
You're listening.
Get it on the calendar.
Now it's for young adults. That's who the target is. Now, what counts as a young adult?
So the church defines young adult as 18 to 39. And yes, I know everyone always has questions like, what happens when I turn 40? Or, there's just, it's a large spread.
Sure.
And there is a method to the madness, but we'll do that another time.
Okay, yeah. But basically anyone listening, if they want to show up, you're not going to turn them away.
Yeah, we don't check people's IDs, either the Catholic card or their driver's license. So you can come and bring a friend who's not Catholic.
Wrinkles and all.
Yeah.
Great. So Cafe Catholica. Well, what's the cost?
There's no cost to attend.
What?
Yeah, there's no registration
needed. We were just talking about selling gold bricks for the.
I know. I wish I had a few bricks.
Yeah.
Okay. No, we do ask for donations. So yeah, this program is completely funded by the young adults who come. We do ask them to donate when they arrive. But that's a base. I think if you calculate it down, it comes to about maybe $10 a night. So
Oh,
if
wow.
each young adult could donate even $10 each night, that would cover their dinner and the speakers and all the different expenses that go into making this happen.
And I'm sure some people donate more, so if money's a thing,
Correct.
that's not an issue. You just show up.
Correct.
Yeah,
yes.
okay, great,
Yeah.
great. So, and you can show up any time. You don't have to get there at 5:15. You
Correct.
could come just at 8:15 if
That's
as-
right. And people do stress out about that. But yeah, come whenever it works in your schedule.
Great.
And the talk's the last thing. So, I mean, even if you just come for the talk, come for the talk. It's really some great speakers and some great topics we'll be covering.
Yeah, by the way, you mentioned the Theology of the Body one on July 17th. It's also labeled Spirit Night there. Is that going to be like
Yes.
a different kind of vibe?
Well, kind of, yeah. So Spirit Night is our new part of it that we've been incorporating the last few years. The idea is that we're going to show some spirit, either for your favorite fandom or TV show or movie, or for your school, for a college you go to, or for, whatever you show spirit for. And the idea for that one, we're just, as a church, we're losing people in the transition point, right? When someone graduates from high school, sometimes we lose them. If they graduate from college, sometimes they don't know how to connect in the young adult world. So the idea for Spirit Night is that we want to especially invite those new young adults. So if you just recently graduated from high school, or if you just moved to the area, or if you just graduated from college, we especially want to make sure that they are the ones that we welcome and make sure they feel like they have a home here in Houston.
Now that would be the most fun, to have like groups of people, groups of young adults from colleges or
Yeah.
clubs or something. That coordinates. Like
Yeah.
everyone dressed the same, and
That's right.
Get your cheering section going there.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be really cool. Now, before we run out of time, I want to be sure to talk about World Youth Day.
Yeah.
First, for those who don't know, what is World Youth Day and where is it?
Yeah, so World Youth Day is an event that was started by Pope John Paul II back in 1985. So it's been running for that long. And it's a time when Catholic young adults or young people from all around the world gather for several days in one city. World Youth Day is a little bit deceiving. It's not a day. It's a couple days. So this year we're going to be going to Lisbon, Portugal.
Wow.
Which is really exciting. And from our archdiocese, we have a group of 106 young adults who are going to Lisbon this summer. So
106. That's going to be a nice
Yeah.
trip. Okay, I'm assuming it's too late to sign up because that's only a month away.
it is only a month away. We actually have had a few last-minute signups. It is somewhat possible. We do have to check hotel space and everything, and you do have to pay everything up front. But we have had people sign up for the last year, so it's been taking a year of making payments and preparing. We've had meetings. We did a mini pilgrimage here in Houston,
Yeah.
where we had 100 pilgrims walk from St. Joseph Church to St. Anne Church.
Oh, neat.
Which was really fun. So, so there's been a lot of preparation going into it. It's both a spiritual trip, it's a pilgrimage, but it's also physically demanding. So trying to help prepare people in both those ways has been
good.
important.
I'm sure it's going to be a spiritual high point. Is there a way that those who can't go, because there's only 106 people going, but is there a way that those who can't go can maybe watch or participate from afar somehow?
I'm sure there is, yeah. So, the World Youth Day, the main sites, I'm sure there are definitely things on Facebook and Twitter and all that. But for our diocese, we are actually talking, I don't have bricks, but if you are able to give a donation, we are trying to just raise a few funds to help cover things like our T-shirts, or even we have 3 priests coming with us, and to help to cover make sure all their travel expenses are covered and things like that. So if you want to make a donation, that's WYD 2023. You can text that to the number 41444. There's also links online to make a donation. But we're going to be posting our own, kind of journey on social media. So please follow us. That's on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. It's just archgh.yacm on all those places. So we'll be sharing our journey as we go.
Yeah, that's archgh.yacm.
Yes.
YACM for Young Adult and Catholic Campus. I can't
Yeah,
say
I know. I just
Catholic.
rattle them off. Sorry.
Young Adult and Campus Ministries. YACM. Okay.
Yes.
No, that's awesome, Angie. Okay, so cafecatholica.com is the place you can get the schedule for Cafe Catholica, but really just any Monday night in July, just show up at St. Anne's. That's all you got to remember.
Yes.
Show up at St. Anne's.
And I will say the last night of Cafe Catholica, July 24th, we are going to do a send-off for our World Youth Day pilgrims. A lot of them will leave that Wednesday, the 26th. So at that Mass, it will be presided by Father Miguel Perez, who is going to be one of our pilgrims or chaplains with us on the journey. So he'll be celebrating that Mass, and we'll ask all our World Youth Day pilgrims to wear their T-shirts, so you'll be able to see them and just wish them luck and ask them to pray for you or whatever else, or pray for them. Please pray for them, because it's a very challenging trip in a lot of ways. So I do ask the diocese to please keep us in your prayers.
Great. Oh, well, Angie Pimetto, Director of Young Adult and Campus Ministries for the Archdiocese of Galveston, Houston, thank you so much for joining us here on the Catholic Lunch Break.
Yes, thanks, Tim.
Great. It's good to have you here, both of you, Father Jeff and Angie and Carol. Thank you all for coming and joining us on the show today. Please pray for our producer, Taylor, who's out sick today, and for our backup producer, David, who is doing jury duty. So, and thank you, listeners, for joining us for this part of the Catholic Lunch Break as well. It's really wonderful to have you as part of our family. All of those links that we mentioned are going to be in the show notes for this episode on our podcast, Catholic Lunch Break, which you can get on the Guadalupe Radio Network app. And I want to remind you that the Catholic Lunch Break is underwritten in part by Loving Choice Catholic Pregnancy Help Center. Loving Choice extends God's love in the form of emotional, educational, material, and spiritual support to parents who are facing an unplanned pregnancy. Loving Choice is a place that any woman can go for help and information when she's facing this unexpected, possibly scary situation. And she can take advantage of a free pregnancy test or a free ultrasound and the baby boutique that we mentioned earlier in the show, and the classes that they teach. And so you can be part of making that happen. Go to loving-choice.org to see if you want to be a volunteer or want to make a donation. loving-choice.org. And if you missed any of that, please go to grnonline.com and reach out to me, Tim Mott. Until next time, stay Catholic, Houston, and may God richly bless you.